everybody. Welcome back to the show. Great to be here with you today. I'm Dr. Stephen Cabral, board-certified doctor of naturopathy, host, of course, of the Cabral Concept. Excited to get into our weekly Cabral House Calls. This is part 2 of the weekend. Yes, I still have a little bit of a scratchy voice. I apologize for that, but as I said yesterday, the show always goes on. So what I want to do is make sure that we get all of your questions answered each and every weekend. And since this is my dedicated time to do it, I'm going to make sure that I fulfill my end of the bargain. So as I said, I'll be back and better, of course, on Monday, but my voice just needs a little bit of rest. It's one of those things that happens maybe once a year. Probably hasn't happened for at least a year. I don't remember it happening for a while. But when you use those vocal cords a little bit too much, they can get irritated. And right now, they're just a little bit irritated from doing a bunch of interviews. And of course, I'm recording back-to-back podcasts right now. So enough about me, though. Let's make this show more about our community. Let's talk about you. So let's dive right in. First question today is from Nishan. Nishan says it's extremely rare to find a genuine healer in this day and age. I'm still trying to filter through the massive amounts of lies and deception regarding the prostate. Our food and water supply is saturated with chemicals and hormone disruptors. What can I take that will neutralize and eliminate all the stuff in my body and rebalance my hormones? Is there something that will shrink the prostate and crush the multi-million-dollar industry that's making money off of this illness that is plaguing men? Yeah, absolutely. And so I'm glad that you wrote in, and actually prostate-based health is one of the major things that I worked on with many of my clients in my Boston practice. Now, our practice is predominantly women, but that doesn't mean we haven't seen tens of thousands of men in our practice. That's for sure. It's just less men are interested in natural health, unfortunately. They're more interested in conventional medicine and pharmaceuticals. That's just the way that it's honestly always been. And so, to make generalizations, of course, but it's just, we've had a big practice and we've seen a lot of people. So there is a lot that you can do. My highest recommendation, Nishan, is to read The Rain Barrel Effect. The book is free. So I literally pay to print the book. You can find it at stephencabral.com/free book and get your copy. It's you just pay shipping and handling, and it will give you what you need to do to start. So what you really need to do is empty your rain barrel. Just like you stated, there's so many chemicals and hormone disruptors in the environment. So you're starting with a 21-day functional medicine detox. Ideally, if you're able to, you run the big 5 before that. Then you'll get exact personalized plan. Then after, so you basically run the big 5, then you complete the 21-day detox, then you get your personalized plan, and you're rebalancing omega levels, removing heavy metals, fixing your gut, removing food sensitivities, anything that could affect inflammation. And all of these things are very helpful. And so that's what we do. And then there's another product that's specifically for the prostate called Advanced Prostate Support. However, you can't use that as the panacea. All of these things help with the conversion of testosterone to dihydrotestosterone, and it does it naturally. But you still need to find what's the underlying root cause causing the inflammation of the prostate in the first place. Cadmium is one of them. That's a big one. Other heavy metals can be issues as well. Too low of zinc, so higher copper to zinc ratios, which you'll find on the minerals and metals test. Bacterial-based issues, because bacteria affects the prostate for sure. So all of that can be really helpful. All right, thank you for writing in, Nishan. And by the way, all the labs, all the protocols, everything can be found at stephencabral.com/shop. That just takes you over to EqualLife, which is our virtual functional medicine practice. All right. Anonymous is up next. I've listened to your podcast on both allergies and Epstein-Barr viruses. I am in the recovery phase of EBV in 2023, December of 2023, 27-year-old female. Had 104 fever for 14 days. I follow over your protocols and have been trying my best to support my recovery. However, the allergens here have been hitting me very severely since getting EBV and causing a lot of inflammation. I want to try sublingual allergy drops, but want to know your advice for when it would be best to start them in relation to my recovery. Could I start them now, or would it be too much for my immune system to handle? If not, what would be a good indication from my body for when it might be ready to start? Deeply appreciate all you do for the community. I'm happy to help, Anonymous. So for people who aren't familiar with Epstein-Barr virus, think of it as like what you might feel when you get mononucleosis or you get the flu. It's full body, fever, aches, pains, huge amounts of fatigue. You feel like a walking zombie. It's awful. Now have that for 10 years. That was me with Addisons disease, and it's absolutely debilitating. It's awful. And so I know what you're going through. And it's terrible. So what happens is, though, it starts to push down harder on the Th2 immune system dominance. So just as you said, now the inflammation from everything is so much higher, such as allergies and asthma, etc. So the allergy drops can help, but you want to find, again, you want to run the Big 5 labs, and you may have already done that. So you really want, what I needed to do, it might be different than you. I had to fix the Candida overgrowth, the H. pylori, and the SIBO. That's what I had to fix. Plus I had to work on heavy metals. Mine was namely mercury, so I had to reduce that. I had other factors as well. I had too much stress. I wasn't handling that well. I had poor sleep, so I had to fix my sleep. So it's not one thing, right? It's the de-stress protocol that I talk about in the rain barrel effect. And so, however, once you get to a place of emptying the rain barrel after a detox, after maybe the CBO protocol, whatever it is that you need, then you can add in the sublingual allergy drops. And the sublingual allergy drops, if you choose to use those, they should be taken at least 6 months before your typical allergy season. So you really want to take them 6 months, 9 months, like once you get out of whatever season. So for me, the worst season for me was the spring, namely April. And so they didn't really have sublingual allergy drops back in my day. When I was sick, when I was very, very young as a child, I got allergy shots, which are not good for you. They have metals in them, all sorts of stuff. It's terrible. But anyway, we didn't know any of that back then. And so what can I say? The 80s was an interesting time. And so sublingual allergy drops, though, can be a much better alternative. And now there's so many companies that you can just do it right at home. Like, it's unbelievable, all of these things. So yeah, it can be helpful. And then, of course, to naturally reduce histamines, the HistPro and the alkalizing vitamin C can be very, very helpful. And HistPro is typically 2 to 3 capsules 3 times a day. All right. Anonymous is up next. Might be the same Anonymous. We don't know. Good morning. Could you do a podcast going over the differences between cryotherapy and cold plunges and the unique benefits of each, and each might benefit or be contraindicated? For example, I noticed that cryo makes me very relaxed during and afterwards and helps a lot with my stress and inflammation. However, cold plunges are a huge stressor on my nervous system and makes my stress hormones, which I don't feel from cryo. Even though they are both cold therapies, there appear to be differences in how they affect the body, since one provides me benefit, whereas the other does not. For me personally, could you please explain the difference? Yes, I've actually done a whole show on this. So let me see if I can find it for you quickly. You would just go to stephencabral.com/podcast. And I know my voice sounds terrible, so I apologize to all of you. But I don't want to miss out on doing a show. So I do want to make sure that I live up to that. So cryo, let's just type in cryo, see what pops up. All right. Well, it's out there. I would ask at cabralsupportgroup.com. Whenever you can't find a podcast, the amazing Michelle can find that podcast because she's phenomenal at it. So that's what I would do. You can even type it into Google, Stephen Cabral, Cabral concept, cold plunge versus cryotherapy. You could do that. But let me just share with you a quick answer, okay? Because you wrote in, you want an answer, you deserve an answer. So here's how they work. The cryotherapy cools the air. That is nowhere near as potent as a cold plunge. So basically, a cold plunge is more potent than a contrast shower, which the contrast shower is arguably as potent as cryotherapy or more, because it's all about how does it stimulate the body. So when you're in a cold plunge, the heat moves from the outside of the body very deep into the core. Where when you're in the cryotherapy, it's definitely cold, there's no doubt about it, but it's not as immersive that it is in cold water. And so it's just stronger, and you feel that. You obviously feel the surge in adrenaline and norepinephrine and maybe dopamine when you get into the cold plunge, where you don't as much of the cryo. So the cryo may be a much better modality for you to use right now. And that is honestly for a lot of people in our practice as well that don't do as well with cold plunges because they are stressed, and it's just adding to more stress. All right. Anonymous, thanks for writing in. All right. Kimberly's up next. Kimberly says, hello, Dr. Brawl. Am I allowed to include black, green, and Greek olives in my diet in the first 21 days, minus the 2 liquid diet days of each? Oh, we talk about the detox. I look forward to beginning my 21-day detox this coming Monday. Thank you, Kimberly. All right. You wrote in at the end of March. It's now the end of May to the beginning of June, right? What is today's date that this goes live? Yeah, this goes live on June 9th. That means you wrote in a little over 2 months ago. So we're getting a little backlogged at our questions. So whenever you have questions, and it says that at stephencabral.com/askcabral, and I know that we're in the, we all skim. I get it. I'm guilty of that as well. But it says right on that page that unfortunately we won't be able to get you an answer on this. You won't even be seen for about 12 weeks. And that's actually where about we are right now. So what I want to share with you is everybody can get same day answers, basically same day, Monday through Friday, by writing down into cabralsupportgroup.com. And Michelle, Daniel, Cassie, and all the amazing health coaches on our team would be able to answer this for you. But the answer is yes, you can have Greek olives if you would like, or black olives, or green. You don't want to overdo them because that counts as your olives, your olive oil, your fat, but you can certainly add them. All right. So yes. Tin is up next. Tin says, I'm 15 weeks pregnant and I am taking my time to learn more about prenatal and maternity health. I'm curious, what are your thoughts about the oral glucose tolerance test? It contains 75 grams of sugar in a solution and taken after fasting. I'm a bit concerned about this much sugar plus the colorings added to it. My OB said that this is required to test for gestational diabetes, but heard that this test can come out false and inaccurate. My FBS and hemoglobin A1C are all good. I take supplements and work out, so I think I have low risk. What are other alternatives for this that have less risk to my body? Thank you again for all you do. Okay, so two things. I have to give you my medical disclaimer because it's a medical question. Pregnancy, believe it or not, is considered a medical condition. So I cannot give you any medical advice, medical treatment plans, medical cures, or medical diagnosis. That goes for anyone and everyone on listening to the podcast. Okay. Next, I've answered this question actually many times. So I'm going to get you the podcast because I know I'll be able to search this one because it's oral glucose tolerance test. So let's go to stephencabral.com/podcast, type in oral glucose tolerance. And let's see. It is episode 2991. So if you go to stephencabral.com/2991, believe it or not, it actually came out after you asked this question. So lo and behold, maybe this is you re-asking. Remember, sometimes it takes 10 to 12 weeks to come back in. Your question is answered there. But what I want to say is this, is that for usually, to be honest with you, the food coloring is not a good thing. So there are actually oral glucose tolerance that may come without the dye. The sugar your body can handle. I know it's not ideal. I totally agree with that. You'll be able to handle it and like you'll be fine. Honestly, like you will be fine with that. Having said that, for someone who's in great health and they know that their fasting blood sugar or glucose and their hemoglobin A1C are good, they may decide that this test is not something that they need to worry about. They're at a healthy weight. They've gained a healthy amount of weight during pregnancy. Their blood sugar is good, especially with a waking fasting. Their hemoglobin A1C has always been good. This may be a test that they decide they don't necessarily want to take. They don't like to take the risks with it. They don't want to spike their blood sugar to that degree. They're going to pass. That's everyone's prerogative. It's their body. It's their choice. It's their decision to make. And I give a little bit more context on the previous podcast as well. All right, let's get to one more question though. And the next one is from Senna. Senna writes in, hi, Dr. Ball. I live in Europe and the European Union has new rules for retinol usage. They have set a maximum concentration of 0.3% for facial products and 0.05 for body products in order to mitigate potential health risks associated with excessive retinol exposure. Do you know why they did this and what these health risks are? I love using my 1% retinol serum, and I'm pretty alarmed by this. Thanks for your answer. Well, believe it or not, they've always done this, but they did it orally first, and now they're just doing this based on the creams. And so even the US has a overall, because they're worried about vitamin A toxicity and liver toxicity with that. So they're oftentimes testing, your liver counts, your AST and ALT. So this isn't something new, but it's a new institution by the European Union just trying to protect people. So they do it even lower for the body, and that's because you can rub on more of the cream. So they need the concentration to be lower because you're going to be using more of it. Where in your face, you're using a little bit less, so the concentration can be a little bit higher. But I've talked to many like skincare legitimate experts, PhDs in the field. So they use retinol as well, but they use it like 3 to 4 times a week. And they don't use it every day. And that's because it actually can, well, one, it leaves you more susceptible to sun. So you have to be really careful about getting sun when you've basically continue to kind of break down the barrier on the face, which is what I want to talk about next. It breaks down the skin barrier on the face. And so it's leading to more and more new cell turnover. Well, that new cell turnover, though, is more prone to irritation and especially reactions from the sun. Also more prone to redness and inflammation the more that you use. Some people, I talked about the photosensitivity, some people can actually lead to unevenness in their skin tone. So what can happen is that as the new skin is regenerating, it's not as even as it was because some of it is a little bit more irritable, especially if you're using retinol on a daily basis. For others, it can worsen already previous existing rosacea or skin-based rashes. But again, it mainly comes back to what is most detrimental and most that we worry about, which is vitamin A toxicity. It's the absorption through the skin, leading to potentially skin rashes, headaches, dizziness, nausea, and liver damage, which is probably the most serious as well. So just wanted to share that with you. That's why they do it. I'm not saying that retinol can't be great for your anti-aging skin-based protocol. I'm going to get into skincare. I always keep saying that I'm going to, for myself as well. I'm not getting any younger. I feel younger, but I'm not getting any younger chronologically or on the outside. It is something that I'm looking into. I'll probably use it 3 times a week, like I've heard from, just brilliant skincare PhDs. And that's how they do skin biopsies. So they're actually looking at the skin and what it looks like after X number of days using it with days off, how it begins to rebuild. So I might look at it like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, like an every other day, 3 times a week, but I haven't started it yet. So I'll certainly update you when I do. All right, Senna, thanks. Hopefully that was helpful. Thank you everybody for writing in. Thank you. I appreciate you. I will be back tomorrow with a brand new Cabral concept and my voice will be back to normal. Take care, everybody. Have a great rest of your weekend. Thanks so much for tuning into today's show. Before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I want to make sure that you're getting our daily content, not missing out on anything functional medicine, wellness, weight gain, weight loss, anti-aging, living longer, stronger, and all of the most cutting-edge research. And if there's any topics you want to hear, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Take care.